A wubbie. I'm starting this like a Leigh. A Leigh story. A wubbie. Have y'all ever heard of a wubbie?
It's like a passy, right?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a comfort.
I'd never heard of this term in my whole life.
Me neither. I'm a passy person. Well, I mean, not now.
Well, I no shame, no kink shaming here on this podcast.
Right.
Never.
So the wubbie was a nickname that was given to an employee for someone that was pretty high up in the company. And how this all came about is essentially at this place of employment that I worked, we had a CFO. And I'm not sure if this was their first CFO job, but they were a little unsure of themselves. And so they needed a comfort item. They needed a wubbie. Their wubbie was a person.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And this person, insanely intelligent, probably actually could have held that role.
Yeah, doing the job for him.
Yeah. Like totally could have held the role. Just did not actually want it, I don't think. I think they were happy with where they were at that time. And so it became a thing where everyone in the company then started referring to this other person as the CFO's wubbie. So like, did you invite the wubbie to the meeting?
Oh, don't forget the wubbie.
Yeah. Does the wubbie need flight arrangements?
Because they travel and things like that, always needed to be by the side.
Yeah. Is the wubbie coming to dinner? So yeah, the wubbie was the CFO's comfort. And as far as I know, I'm long gone, but the wubbie and the CFO are still there. And I don't think the wubbie is quite as needed, but the wubbie still has to come in from time to time and comfort the CFO.
Comfort and support with information and data and what to do and say and all the things.
So it's almost like being someone's right hand, but like almost unhealthy codependency.
Mm-hmm.
And lacking compensation, title, and benefits that would come with the level of...
For sure.
Oh, of course. Just means like exploited person.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I'm thinking now if I've ever been a wubbie.
I feel like I've definitely been a wubbie. Ooh, not that I meant to be, but I remember one of my old bosses telling me I was her right and left hand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I think I was a wubbie, but I did not have a cute name.
Leigh, what do you think? Have you been a wubbie?
Yeah, I've been a wubbie for sure.
Yeah.
But it's a difficult position being a wubbie because, like Jamie was saying, it's not like something I asked for, right? You get in a situation or you inherit a boss or you come into a new job and you don't realize that your boss is super insecure or, or how much they know or not or whatever, you don't know if they're really going to like you, if they're really not going to like you or vice versa or whatever. But I think I've been in a situation like that before where, I had a boss just all about me and it makes you a target.
Yeah.
Like the team, some of them, they start going to you instead of the boss. So you're doing part of the manager job and some they're avoiding you because they're jealous or they despise the fact you're a wubbie, something you didn't even ask for. It's like, oh my God, I don't want to be a wubbie. But yeah, it's difficult. Does she want to be a wubbie, Jamie?
I don't think she ever intended to be a wubbie. That's for damn sure.
But there are some benefits of like, depending if the CFO, it's a little bit like yin and yang and they kind of travel fit together because the CFO isn't going to get found out for their lack of competency because the wubbie is providing them the things they need. So then they're getting the kudos. So there is this level of job security.
For sure.
And so I can see having some advantages if you don't have to take on all the BS that comes with having a chief whatever title. I can totally see people whose love language is like giving that are totally cool with having a wubbie role. I'm just curious, if you've ever been part of a layoff, then there's like a layoff list. And sometimes it's the question of, do you let people get a peek into that of what that's going to look like, have an opportunity to have a sense. And again, the healthiest organization, we're not going to hopefully have any layoffs. But when you have those, having information can be better than after the fact when a manager finds out they lost 3 team members on their team. And they're like, well, that would have been great information to advocate for beforehand. But sometimes there are spreadsheets and people will write like notes in these meetings. And so I'm just wondering if anyone out there has ever had spreadsheet where they're going through and they're like, oh, this person, take them off the list. They're getting saved. Notes, wubbie.
This person's saved because they're my wubbie.
And that's discoverable.
Yeah.
And that would be hilarious.
I can tell you, having a lawyer, it is amazing, the people, including people with very, very high titles that believe by popping the words privileged and confidential somewhere along the chain, somewhere just dropping them somewhere in the chain, that means it's not discoverable. And it is,
I know.
It is having been through those in the situations where a judge is looking at things, what's called in camera, which is just the judge judging you. And they're like, no, this is not privileged as you think. That is a very business folks having to learn that lesson in a courtroom. It's not a fun lesson to learn. We got really far from wubbie to court lessons. This is my kind of day, ladies.
Oh, gosh.
Mochi Health is a long-term weight loss solution personalized to fit your unique needs and goals. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who are on a mission to listen. Eligible patients can access custom-formulated GLP-1 medications at an affordable, set price and get them delivered to their home each month. No insurance required, FSA and HSA accepted. With 24/7 customer service available, Mochi Health is here to partner with you on your journey to a healthier life. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com.
On average, you'll have to wait 31 days to see an OBGYN. And if you're dealing with an infection or outbreak, you know you need care fast. That's where WISP comes in. Connect with a U.S. licensed provider online and pick up safe, effective treatment at your local pharmacy that same day. Plus, get birth control and more delivered in all 50 states. Take control with comprehensive sexual and reproductive care, all from your phone. WISP. That's hellowisp.com. The waiting room can wait.
Well, speaking of lessons and things to learn, shall we kick this meeting off? First things first, let's run through the agenda. Thank you so much for that hot goss and water cooler talk, Jamie. Next up, we got some cringe corporate speak, which I'm going to bring to y'all. And then our hot topic for today is all things work-life balance, right? So who's responsible in the workplace for ensuring work-life balance for employees? And is it even achievable? Right? So we'll turn it inside out a little bit. We're getting up here to summertime. So it's very, very timely. And then as always, some questions and comments to close out the meeting. How does that sound?
Wonderful.
So cringe corporate speak for today, besides wubbie, core competency.
Ooh.
Core competency.
Ooh.
I know, right? I kind of have a physical reaction to that.
Yeah.
Core competency. Oh my goodness. Have you all ever heard this in the workplace?
Of course. And it's always usually around performances. And
yes,
we're measuring people on core competencies.
Mm-hmm. I love it when it's like, well, it's one of our core competencies as a business.
Oh, yeah. That's my favorite.
Okay. So it's just something that we're good at? Like what?
It's literally just something we just put on a poster and hung it in the break room.
Yeah, everybody, everyone.
Exactly. It's our core competency. Do you all use this? Have you used this?
I've probably used it in the sense of performance, reviews or that, but I don't think I've ever whipped it out in a meeting. You know what I mean? Hey, we need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've done that.
Just plopped it on the table there.
No, I probably have used it responding back to someone, but no, I would say job duties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Core job duties, which is, probably not using core competency as much as the term job duties probably has cost me earnings over the years with not wanting to use that terminology. I can think of workplaces, one large consulting firm in particular that I would hear core competency and I would chuckle to myself to think, KFC, we just called that job duties and it was exactly the same thing. But
yeah, of course it was. Yeah.
What about you, Leigh?
I can think of a workplace, and again, like you're saying, like certain workplaces have certain cringe speak, right? And, I can think of one where everything was a freaking core competency. And it was always, talking about the business, not like job duties or performance. It was like, well, that's one of our core competencies. Did you connect with the customer and tell them that's a core competency of ours? Like everything was just core competency this and core competency that. And oh man, I don't know why we didn't just abbreviate to CC. But then you got the CC with the email. Maybe that would have been confusing. CCs, I don't know.
Yeah.
But everything was a freaking core competency. I mean, big time. So.
Which I think part of my problem with this is I actually think it's legitimately, there are people that would not understand what that means. And I can think of like phases in my life. It reminds me, and I don't think we would ever use this as cringe corporate speak, but I'm about to give us a little 2-for-1. But the same, I remember value proposition. When I started and I worked in sales, and this like bosses, like the head of all the sales things, I like sat in on this sales call. And it was really interesting to listen and like hear people actually like sell. So I recommend that as an organization to give opportunities for people to listen to others. But I remember this like SVP of everything sales was like, how are you delivering the value proposition?
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I don't know what the F that means. And that was like, that was 20 plus years ago. No ChatGPT there. I looked at him. You know what I said? His name was Paul. I said, Paul, you know what? I want to be the type of team player that lights a fire under my own ass. And I said that back to him. I swear to God, I still remember the meeting.
Oh my
and he
God.
was like, yes.
Yes, that's fucking brilliant. All right.
And I really wasn't that good at sales, to be honest with you. I was good at the research and all those things. I like to build relationships. It's the commercial aspect that's always a challenge. But I just remember, I don't know what came over me. And I said that. And best thing I could have possibly said at the moment, because I had nothing substantive to say.
You're just BSing back, and that's corporate right there. Bam.
But I remember that was a workplace, and that was my first job out of college. And I totally remember core competency and like talking to CFOs about core competency. I couldn't name a single actual finance core competency to save my life, but I sure tried to.
Mm-hmm. I do love the term value proposition. I can't help it. I mean, I work somewhere else and everything. What's the value prop? Value prop? What's the VP? What's the VP? Value prop? Everything. Oh, damn, man, well, gosh, we've got a lot of cringe speak today. So we got wubbie, we got core competencies, we got value prop now, and we got all sorts of shit here. So we certainly encourage you all to drop some of those just to entertain yourself in your workplace here. Enjoy. I mean, you got a buffet of cringe corporate speak to choose from. But should we transition to the hot topic, all things work-life balance in the workplace, right? Who is responsible for work-life balance? Should we define it first? High level?
The one thing is, I think the three of us might have different definitions of what that looks like.
Oh, for sure.
What would you say, Jamie?
Well, I'm probably the worst to ask.
Jamie's like, it's a big 72-point font work and a 6-point superscript font of life.
There you go.
I'm the worst of the three of us to probably ask, but I think it's how you balance your personal life, obviously, with your work life, and what boundaries you're able to set when it comes to like your personal time or family time or vacations. We had an episode not that long ago where I said, this will be the first vacation I've ever taken that I won't bring a work laptop. Well, it's because I don't have one because I was laid off. You know what I mean? That's my fault, right? I didn't create a work-life balance. And so then you are almost taken advantage of for that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, and it's funny, Ashley, you're like, oh, we probably have different definitions. I think that it's evolved for me into self-preservation and protecting myself. How Jamie was talking about boundaries, absolutely. But work-life balance for me is now a lot of like personal advocacy. So not just, fitting in vacations, but protecting my wellness and my health in my work as well while I'm working, so it's really evolved conceptually. What about you, Ashley? How would you define work-life balance?
life experiences do shape this. And so one of mine, as I've mentioned, my first in-house counsel role, I went from working 24/7 in the law firm environment, just nature of that environment often, to all of a sudden an 8 to 5 work-life balance. And so for me, I'm a little stuck on that because that to me shaped so much of how I live my life. Because I remember in particular on Sunday nights, I would drive on my way home from somewhere and I would see people out having dinner on a Sunday night. And I would look at this and literally couldn't believe, how could you possibly sit and enjoy it? Like it would be wasteful because I had such levels of stress. And so I remember when I started this job and all of a sudden, and it wasn't just me. And so one thing I want to get back to is Jamie's point of it was my fault. I didn't create these boundaries. And I think for a lot of people, that's how you feel because it's the employee's job, but that's not realistic, I don't believe. For me, my boss going into that role, who was a male general counsel with a wife who stayed at home, nanny, no reason in the grand scheme of life for me to think he would understand my life, which was 2 working parents. I had a young 1.5-year-old toddler. And he proactively, this is what it is. You will not work at nights and on the weekends. And that was absolutely supported. And so there was no expectation that I was going to be jumping on things at 8:30, 9 at night. My weekends were mine. And so for me, it was a test of, I had these actually pretty firm official boundaries. And so on Sunday nights, I started going out to dinner, and it sounds so sad to say what a challenge or change that was in my life, but it was. I felt free. I felt like I had. So for me, part of it is actually having divides. And so now, as I have my business, for example, I generally block out Mondays and Fridays to work to get things done, because if I jump on calls and things like that back and forth, even if someone's like, "Oh, can I pick your brain?" I do that for 3 hours afterwards. I have I can't get stuff done. So for me to be effective, I have times where I have calls. I have times when I generally don't. And so for me, it's been a little bit more of firm things like that.
So you touched upon kind of that responsibility factor, right? And the reality is that there are totally unbalanced power dynamics at play when it comes to work-life balance, right? I think it's definitely a shared responsibility, but it is not an equal one at all. So to Jamie's point, oh gosh, boundaries are so important. Absolutely. But it's just one piece, right? Your employer has to actually respect them. They have to respect them. They have to allow PTO. They have to respect you as a whole person. I mean, there's so much more that an employer needs to do to ensure a healthy work-life balance versus an employee just setting boundaries, right? It's culture, it's expectations, it's goals, it's the whole system, in that workplace at play on whether work-life balance is achievable or not. I mean, what do you all think from a responsibility standpoint?
Yeah, I definitely don't think it's just me or the employee's responsibility. I think a big portion of that comes down to the culture of the company, but also the leader, right? So if the leader is pinging you at 6:30 at night or 8:30 at night, or whatever it is, and they need something, I think that's going to play a part, because then you feel like you have to be on. I mean, I remember one time I was actually taking a bath and I remember checking something real quick on my Teams and my boss pinging me and being like, "Hey, I saw you were green." And I was on my phone in the bathtub. It wasn't and so then I felt obligated to get out of the bathtub, go to my work computer, and then work on the thing that she asked me. And it's that's so stupid. One, I shouldn't have looked, but it was bothering me and I wanted to look up this document while I was laying in the bathtub, right? But I was green, but also it was well after 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. So who's responsible for that?
Weren't you in the hospital once?
Yeah, my child.
Yes, with her child.
Johnny was in the hospital. Yeah, in the ICU.
Can your husband come get the laptop?
Yep, and my husband went and got my laptop. And what's funny is, while we were sitting here talking, that same boss, I remember her telling me, this was pre-pandemic, so keep that in mind. I remember her telling me, though, when she went to find a job, she wasn't going to pass a certain exit from her house. Like it was this exit.
Oh, okay. Like her commute could only be whatever.
Yeah, like because she didn't want to drive far. Yeah, and I remember thinking that, and I was actually thinking about this, and then her holding that over me. And please keep in mind, I lived like a good hour away from this job, and she lived like 15 minutes. And then my son being in the ICU. Yeah, she was a nut job. Same thing. She was the boss that would send emails at 3 a.m. because she would wake up and she would start firing off emails at 3 a.m. So when I would get in at 7, I would have 20 emails from her of things. And she's also the person that called me her right and left hand. So
the wubbie.
Yeah, do that with what you will. But yeah, I didn't feel like
safe.
Now, the good thing there is pre-pandemic is when I left at 5 or whatever, I was truly gone. I didn't have much of an attachment like to my phone back then. Pre-pandemic was a little different, you know?
One of the reasons we talked about this is we've had conversations. We talk off of the podcast as well. But there had been a podcast with Emma Grady, who's the CEO of Skims. And in that, and I actually pulled up the transcript because I wanted to make sure. But what she said, and I'd made a TikTok responding to this, but what she said was, and this is to employees, work-life balance is your problem. It isn't the employer's responsibility. And she goes on and says, I have 4 kids. I had to figure out how I would do that. And we have to be honest. But basically, if anyone says that they're successful and have evenings and weekends, they're lying to you. And the biggest thing I take about that is as an employer and as a manager, and it's one thing Leigh's saying, an organization has to support this, but an organization is made up of people. And so whatever your role is, and in our newsletter this week, which we have, you can look at our description, we include questions. And so I think it's important to recognize, who am I in an organization? As you're listening to this, are you HR? Are you a senior leader? Are you a line manager? Are you a colleague that doesn't have direct reports? We welcome all, obviously, in our podcast audience, but some of this is, no matter what you do, you have an impact on the work-life balance of those that you work with. And very rarely do you have to do certain things. Like you don't have to. You don't have to be the type of boss that schedule sends at 8 a.m. as opposed to 3 a.m. You don't have to. You don't have to do these things that often people say, like, God, people are soft. Read it whenever I'll send it when it's convenient for me. Read it when it's convenient for you. And while there's some exception for global workplaces where it's just not realistic to time things all over the place, but often it's this perspective that you have such a hand, whether you're that colleague and someone's out, reaching out to them because you need something, or the way you treat people. And so that first sentence of work-life balance is your problem, that it's on the employee and that it's a problem. Those are the workplaces they may get things done in the short term, but over the long term, you will see turnover and you will see Glassdoor. You will have a harder time recruiting the very people that you think should want to work for you because you are burning people out with that sort of mindset, especially if it's, I went through this, so you should be able to survive it too.
Yeah, as if we're all the same people. And I bet her definition of success is being rich. Just if I had to guess, it's money. And see, not everyone has the same definition of success, do they?
Mm-hmm.
And it changes throughout your career too. Maybe at one point mine was money because I was poor as hell. Bitch had to eat. But it's definitely evolved now. It's changed. It's more like peace here. But wow, that is wild to have a leader in 2025 say that, in my opinion.
Work-life balance should be a core competency, frankly. It should be.
Oh, I like that.
I love it.
I know I snuck in the word, but for real, it should be. It should be not just HR's responsibility, not just the company, not just the leaders. It should be everybody's responsibility. And we should hold ourselves to that. It shouldn't be that hard.
Do you ever wish that you had an HR legal bestie in your pocket? 650 is just that. Your trusted, always available ally for your employment law questions, minus the hefty price tag of a lawyer. Compliance may not be your favorite chore in HR, but it's important and it's hard. But 650 is here to make it easy. With 650, managing multi-state HR compliance is a breeze. Their tools help you to understand complex state laws, and craft compliant documents effortlessly, but also keep everything up to date automatically. They have a comprehensive "What's the law in this state" library to a 50-state employee handbook builder. 650 turns compliance into convenience. So, HR pros juggling multi-state teams, simplify your compliance today. Visit 650.com/besties. That's SIXFIFTY.com/besties and discover how to stay ahead with 650's seamless solutions.
Look, I'm just trying to live up to the version of me my dogs think that I am, assuming I've got it all together. Meanwhile, I'm Googling, can dogs eat watermelon? Which I legitimately had to Google last week. Thank you, my children. Realizing then we're out of food and I forgot flea meds. Chewy had both and delivered fast. Now they're well fed and itch free and still think I have it all under control. Thanks, Chewy. With over 100,000 products from top pet brands, Chewy makes it easy to find everything from food and treats to beds and toys, all delivered to your door 1 to 2 days. They also carry supplies for birds, fish, reptiles, and other small pets. To support your pet's health, they offer prescription medications, telehealth vet visits, pet insurance, and are expanding in-person vet clinics across the country. As temperatures rise, so do the risk of fleas and ticks. Even for indoor pets, these pests can spread through other animals, visits to the groomer or the vet, and even hitch a ride on us and tiny humans. Chewy carries a wide range of vet recommended flea and tick medications to help to protect your pet year round. AutoShip lets you schedule reoccurring deliveries of the essentials you need most, so you never run out. It's flexible, easy to manage, and can be changed or canceled at any time. Customer support is available 24/7 by phone or chat, with expert advice always on hand. And with their 100% satisfaction guaranteed, you can return any item within a year, no questions asked. I spend way too much time running to the pet store, usually last minute, but Chewy completely changed the game for me. The selection is wild, and I swear they have every brand for my picky pets will actually eat and then some. I found everything from treats to toys to supplements I didn't even know I needed. Chewy has everything you need to keep your pet happy and healthy. And right now, you can save $20 off your first order and get free shipping by going to chewy.com/HRBesties. That's chewy.com/HRBesties to save $20 off your first order plus free shipping. Chewy.com/HRBesties. Minimum purchase required. New customers only. Terms and conditions apply. See site for complete details.
Imagine if you're interviewing somewhere, not just when you start working there, but imagine you're interviewing with an organization and they proactively say to you, we want you to come here and do good work, but also we want you to be able to live a full life outside of work. And we take it as our responsibility and privilege to help you do, not just do the job at work, but also build a team that you want to come and work with. But then when you leave, to be able to live that life outside of work. And so that overall, we are a net positive to your life working here. Can you imagine?
I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I will take a giant pay cut.
Yeah.
But which is the thing, which again, like you shouldn't have to, but again, like same. And when I had left to take the job with that work-life balance, like going from a law firm to in-house counsel, I took probably like 25% pay cut, let's say. I don't want to say now I would have taken a bigger pay cut because they'll come and take some money from me, but nothing. There is a privilege that I have had of growing older and some of the hard things that you go through, very hard things that you go through, is having the opportunity to realize life matters. And sometimes, more money, more problems is so true, but it's building those relationships. And to me, I agree, Leigh, like success is looking around and feeling like what you do matters and the people that you work with care about you and that you can live that life and not feel guilty or tied to your phone or your laptop or things like that. And being able to make enough money that you're not stressed about money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to your point, balance for me is really autonomy. It is, and I think people look at balance and there's kind of like this perception that it's got to look perfect, meaning like it's 50-50, and it's not 50-50 every day, right? I mean, it ebbs and it flows. Balance is fluid. It's seasonal, depending on what you do, but you definitely shouldn't be logging off or going home every night and feeling like the scales are always against you, I mean, in aggregate, like you should have some autonomy to live your life, and live it the way you believe you should live it, like however you define success, right? Like, cheers to that CEO. That's her idea of success, and that, okay, good for you, except she's affecting a bunch of people, but you know what I mean? And we all have different definitions here, but yeah, for me, it really is that autonomy piece and the balance that drives me and draws me.
You are responsible for like setting your own boundaries and keeping them, right? But I think you also have to ask for help or check in. You have to protect your energy, really. I mean, there's advocate for yourself. You need to be able to speak up to your boss and be like, look, this project, I'm not logging off until 8:00 every night. I really need, or whatever. And I feel like I have had the conversation numerous times in every different position I've had with leaders about flexibility. And I know I've said this 1,000 times on the podcast, but I cannot tell you, I mean, literally how many times I've had this conversation with different leaders just about being flexible with their employees. Like, sometimes it's simple stuff, right? Like, one time, I remember someone's son made the middle school football team, which my son is also playing middle school football. This was well before me, though. My child. But on Tuesdays they played, and JV played at 5, and she technically would get off work at 5. So she was asking to get off at 4:30, and the manager's like, absolutely not. I was like, why? But why not? Why not? It's every Tuesday for, I think it was only like 10 weeks. It wasn't even that long. Like, actually, it might not even been 10 weeks. And I was like, why don't you just ask her to come in 30 minutes early or stay 30 minutes late another day? Like, it's 30 minutes. And I remember having to sit this manager down and tell them, it would be different if the game was at the middle of the day, right? But she'd have to leave at 4:30 to get to the game at 5. Like, it was absurd to me that I'm having to tell this manager it's okay. Well, they're going to set a precedence. So the fuck what? I want every person in this building to be able to go to their child's function, or maybe it's not their child, maybe it's their husband's thing, or I want them to be able to do that. And if that's us accommodating 30 minutes and they're not abusing it, let them.
Like, grow up.
I remember handling and having where an employee had made a, not complaint, but like reached out because they were frustrated because they wanted to do a workout class during the day. But their question was, what's the policy? Because the manager's telling me we have a policy that it's only an hour for lunch. Shocking turn of events, no specific policy there existed to that point. Yeah. And of course, the manager's like, can we make that a policy real quick, backdate it, whatever. But the employee was like, and I'm like, okay, what's the reason, for this? Was this like a one-time thing? And they're like, I really want to do a workout class during the day, but this workout class generally is almost an hour, and I can take a quick shower and come back, but it's like an hour and a half. And I offered to come early, stay late, do whatever. So it's the same amount of work, but the manager's like, no, it's an hour. Same thing, totally arbitrary. And so as I'm having the conversation, and again, I'm always trying to be non-judgmental in these situations, because my guess is that manager doesn't want to do something to the point to create an exception, and then everybody else is pointing and it just stirs up things. I totally get that. So I remember having the conversation, I said, but all of the same work is going to get done. And now you have this person that's going to come and they're going to feel refreshed. And of course, what if they have wet hair? Is that a problem against the dress code? Same. So all the questions that you get, and again, I thankfully had anticipated I would get that. I'd say, well, really, is this customer face? Does it really matter? Can they dry? How long does it take to dry their hair? I don't know. But I said, but we're having this conversation now. And I said, I get it. I said, what is making you really say no? And same thing. They're like, I just don't want to do something. Now everyone's asking for it, and it's hard as a manager. People take advantage of you. And so I hear that. But if you approach things with say no because of that, then now you have this person that literally, I'm like, what if this person left because they just wanted to take a workout class during the day? And, and I'm like, we're taking time doing that. I'm charging my time back to your location. It wasn't, just kidding. But all the things, I'm like, we're having these conversations about it. And I just think having that recognition on flexibility is a really important one.
Yeah.
Like, grow up.
But I do think it comes from fear. I do think a lot of it comes from fear, control, and what people have seen of their examples. And that's why I really, really think, as those HR in particular listening who are tired of all the comments, I mean, I've gotten so many of them recently about nobody's like this in HR, HR's, and it's hard. It really, it gets to you. I'm like, then why do you think I'm making videos? To show how it can be different. I promise you, I'm not trying to take you to fantasy land. But so as HR, if you can say to your leaders, whatever that audience is like, but to say, what would it be like as an organization if we took the approach that we want to how could we help our employees do good work while they're here? What are we not doing now that we could? And also help them live fuller lives outside of work. What would that look like? And what would the impact be to our teams? And that is the first step in real conversations.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is that work-life balance is achievable, but only if your manager isn't an asshole, your workplace isn't toxic, and your leadership walks the talk.
Yeah.
And believes in work-life balance for themselves.
I mean, you've just summarized our whole podcast. I'm glad this is towards the end of the episode, so people don't do this at the beginning, then people won't listen.
This is Leigh GPT.
I like it.
Boom, boom, boom.
It's a great synthesis.
There you go. And it is always got expletives in it.
I think when we started the podcast, we really thought it was just going to be like us and our mics and our thoughts, but it was actually so much more than that. We were the editor, the producer, the social media manager, the scheduler, the graphic designer. Basically, it's a lot. And don't get me wrong, it's all very exciting. But I remember thinking, I wish there was one place we could go to at least make some of this easier. And that's exactly what Shopify is for business owners. Whether you're selling merch, launching a new product, or building your brand from scratch, Shopify is the business partner that helps you get started and keeps you going. It's like having an entire team in your corner, but one that actually knows what's going on. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US, from household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands that are just getting started. Get started with your own design studio with hundreds of ready-to-use templates. Shopify helps you build a beautiful online store to match your brand style. Accelerate your content creation. Shopify is packed with helpful AI tools that help you write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns whenever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify is your commerce expert with expertise in everything from managing inventory to international shipping to processing refunds and beyond. So if you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 a month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/HRBesties. Go to shopify.com/HRBesties. Shopify.com/HRBesties.
Stop doom scrolling and start dream scrolling. I just got back from a vacation, and that means that I envision my life there. But I don't just think about it. Like, I pretend I'm going to live there and look up real homes on the Redfin app. As it turns out, I'm not going to be buying a beautiful ski-in, ski-out house in Colorado. But it's fun to play as a game. I'll challenge my friends. If you won $100 million in the lottery, what would you buy? And get out the Redfin app. But you can actually use it for a game or for your real searches when you're looking for your next place. I actually do call it dream scrolling. And you can call it home scrolling or whatever. But whether you're looking to buy or rent your next place, you need the Redfin app. Redfin makes it fun to search all the homes and apartments in your neighborhood. And if you find a place you love, Redfin makes it easy to go see it in person. Just schedule a tour right from the app. Plus, if you're looking to sell, Redfin agents know how to get you the best price possible because they close twice as many deals as other agents. And with a listing fee as low as 1%, Redfin's fees are half of what others often charge. So whether you're looking to buy, rent, or sell, download the Redfin app to get started.
Questions and comments, ladies? Are we ready to transition, close this topic out? What do you all got?
I have one that I was thinking of when we were talking about the wubbie or wubbie? Wubbie.
However you want to say it.
We had thumb sucking in my house. We didn't have wubbies. But have you ever heard the expression salt and pepper travel together, like at a table?
No.
No?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Jamie shaking her head. So, like when I remember I heard that, and so I took that as gospel. I didn't do like cotillion etiquette, that stuff, like growing up. And so, someone I learned said, "Oh, always pass salt and pepper together." And they're like, "Just sing the song to yourself: salt and pepper travel together." And so, whenever someone says pass the salt, I always pass the salt and pepper. But more times than not, people are like, "No, I just said salt." I'm like, I know, but they're together. So now I'm just curious of listeners, if you've ever heard that little sing song, and if someone asks you to pass the salt, if you just pass the salt or you also pass the pepper. So I'm going to pop that in our Instagram stories for a very scientific and important poll.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, I haven't either. Sorry.
But you don't need to apologize. You've heard it now. So now you will be out to dinner with friends or family and you'll start singing it and then spill salt all over the place.
Oh, now I have to pass them both.
Yes.
I'll feel
like, I just asked for the salt.
Right? Exactly.
Ashley told me, all the details.
Etiquette says I have to pass you everything.
They travel together.
So not a comment from me, but just a quick question, right? We're talking about wubbies. What are some of y'all's fun nicknames, work or in life?
Ooh, this is a good one. So in life, I was known as J-Fro. Like all growing up J-Fro, because my maiden name is Froelich. So I was J-Fro, and now I'm J-Fro Jack. But yeah, remember when J-Lo first was like calling herself J-Lo? I think my brother called me J-Fro, and then it just stuck, and everyone called me J-Fro.
That's funny.
Of course.
That's a throwback, J-Lo.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Leigh?
In life, we, like W-E-E.
We. Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like a family thing.
I like that.
Okay.
And, my first and middle name, I'm named after my maternal grandparents. And so Leigh Elena, like people that love me, they call me Leigh Elena. The people that really know me, my family and stuff. But they would call me Wee Wayna, Wee Awayna, Wee Awayna.
That's
So
cute.
that's what I hear, from tons of people.
That's cute.
Still. Even in my 40s, Wee Awayna.
Did you have a work nickname?
Bitch. Frickin' bitch.
Mean HR lady.
HR lady. I was recently called HR Destiny.
Oh, yeah.
HR Destiny. Yeah, someone at a conference called me that.
Yeah, it's you, HR Destiny.
It's HR Destiny. What the fuck?
People know who you are.
HR Destiny is here. HR Mommy.
So that could be a good name on some other platforms.
Yeah, OF.
OFE thing, HR Mama.
Yeah,
Oh,
HR Mommy, yeah.
Ugh, that costs extra. What about you, Ash?
Well, one was my maiden name was Vincel, and so one of my friends had too much to drink in college and called me Vince Gill, and so that one,
I love that.
That one lasted for quite a while. But one nickname was when I was in college, like fraternities would have nicknames for people. I've mentioned this because there was another fraternity that had the Doomy Decimal nickname for the librarian that would come partying at the frat parties. But this fraternity, and I was the fraternity sweetheart for Beta Theta Pi at Center College, which, if you know these things, I was the absolute worst. I was not like a good hostess. I didn't know how to do these things. I didn't really want to do those things. So I was a one and done year for that. But I was for this fraternity. And so we all went to my parents' house before like the Derby for like a big barbecue or something in Louisville for Derby weekend. And somehow they were like, oh, we have nicknames in the fraternity for people. And they're like, yeah, like, oh, this one over here, we call her Ghostface Killer. She's really pale. Like, geez, what? And then my mom's like,
brutal.
What's Ashley's nickname? And I'm like, oh, they're like, oh, we call her Fembot because she walks like a robot.
Pew, 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 pew.
And she walks kind of robotic. My mom starts laughing and she's like, yeah, I can see that. I was so mad. I was like,
Fembot.
no, I don't. So anyway, for 25 years, I've been self-conscious of my robotic walk. So anyway.
Your robotic ways.
Well, I saw you dancing and you do not dance like a robot. You dance like a worm.
Thank you.
Unless she does the robot.
Yeah, unless she does the robot.
Well, yeah, she does that.
I do. I can do the robot. So.
All right. Well, I have a quick comment. Well, actually, 2 quick comments.
Ooh, that's one long comment.
Yeah. Just to wrap up on work-life balance. And it, work-life balance just really means pretending not to see the email or the chat that came after hours that you can respond to in the morning. So that's just friendly advice. And the last comment. This is our last episode until our summer hiatus.
Yes.
So besties, the month of July, we are enjoying our life and not podcasting, but we will be back in August for season 6.
Yes. Yes.
See, work-life balance and action.
Yep. So we have plenty. So if you've missed any, which we have over 100 episodes. So those that haven't missed any, just go re-listen because that also counts. And we appreciate you especially. But if you haven't, go back and listen to some of them, especially some of the early ones. Revisit maybe the Dave Ramsey ones.
Oh, yeah.
I would listen to one of those. I normally don't like to hear my own voice, but one of those had popped up and I was listening to it and like chuckling because now it's been a couple years since we recorded that. So we have some content for you.
And enjoy, right? Find that balance.
Yes.
Take that vacation. Yes. PTO. Bye, besties. We'll see you soon.
Catherine Edwards is our go-to for calm, smart takes on the economy. She joined us on a recent episode of the Her Money podcast to remind us that if we end up going into a recession or if we're already in one right now, and yeah, that might be possible, that, yeah, your investments might dip, but they always bounce back. So if you need clarity rather than chaos around today's headlines, tune into Her Money. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.